What's up? How you doing? Here we are, nice and early, Disneyland. Beautiful day today. Nice temperature, and I can smell a little bit of that burning wood that they use to do barbecues with. Someone coming over here. So, have some items here. First of all, Parker pen. I have to mention it's my favorite pen. 80%, maybe more, of the things I have written in my life have been written by Parker. When I was in the 5th grade, I used to use these a lot. But then even after that, anytime I would, run out of ink or something, I would go to Parker and get them. I have another Parker one here. It's also made by Parker, but a little bit different looking than the other two. See that one? It's a Parker. These are the classic ones that I always use. Nice looking pen, Parker. And you know they're Parker because even the guts inside Parker. So, oh yeah, somebody's cooking something good out there. I can smell that. So I've always, of course, there are more expensive pens, but for me, Parker is good enough. It's an exceptional pen. And I mentioned in the other video that years ago, when you would write with a Parker and then you would smell the paper, it had a very unusual, I said it was like a mechanical smell. No longer. I don't know, they switched out the ink, but I want to tell the Parker people now, you need to go back to that. That was a very, it was like a trademark. So, you have the voices down below. And then here, talk a little bit about this product here. Savannah Bee Company Royal Jelly Body Butter. This is the original. So if you have rough hands, look at this. Put a little bit of this on. Delicious fragrance. Delicious. I think for me, this is like the best hand cream. I've been using this product, not daily, once in a blue moon, but I still have it. You never know. You're out there gardening, your hands get rough, you need something, and this is good stuff. Savannah Bee Company. It rhymes. You can go to savannahbee.com and check it out. I highly recommend it. Highly. Exceptional stuff here. You can do the combo. You can buy a Parker, write your stuff out, and then one of these, keep your hands nice and tamed. But I love Parker. It's also nostalgic to me, it's like you go back in time, you remember your childhood. I always had one of these in my hand. Doing the punishment. I will not talk in class while the teacher is teaching. I had one teacher who loved that punishment. Well, tell him, what's the point of that, What's the point? Let the kid go home, enjoy his time off from looking at you, do his homework, her homework. Instead, what do? Oh, he was talking to his neighbor. Come up here. I will not talk to my neighbor while the teacher is teaching. 500 times, 1,000 times. And then he'd rip it up in front of you. That's a sign of a bad teacher. That's the way you punish. You need to explain to kids that are, talking to their neighbor that you are here to learn, and that's it. You're not here to talk to your neighbor. You talk to your neighbor out in recess, but here you're to absorb the information given to you so you can go into the world and function better. Instead they give you punishments and all that. And for me, the punishment, It did not work at all. I talked to my neighbor even more after that. So just that's one of the teachers I had that I gave thumbs down to. There was a lot of teachers that thumbs up, a few stars, all that. But he was horrible. And eventually they realized that, and they made him a gym teacher. Not that gym teachers are inferior, but gym teachers don't have to teach anything in the 5 subjects like he had to. Yeah, back then you'd have one teacher, all the subjects. They were an expert in everything. And that guy was an expert in nothing. Nothing. I had a couple teachers like that, 3, throughout my years. All the rest of them, they were, some were okay, some were very good. But those 3 that I have in my head right now, they were horrible. They were horrible. They should have been like maybe selling furniture, not teaching children. No. Anyway, this is when I was a kid. You had to know how to tie your shoelaces, only because the teacher didn't want to do it for you. So we had this flat. This is 3-dimensional, but I don't know, maybe even 4-dimensional. But back then we had a flat, like a cardboard thing. It was wood, but it was flat. It had an image of a shoe with laces. And I remember I took that home one time to practice tying my shoe. And I learned, it's not that hard. But as I got older, I realized that maybe there's a better way. Because you ever have those laces that refuse to stay tied? Well, every once in a while you'll buy a pair of shoes and the laces, you run around a little bit and they untie. They untie. So I changed one small thing and it stops it from happening now. So you have your laces. This is as if you're facing the shoe. I know there was a Columbo episode one time where the murderer tied the shoes. I guess it was a gym murder, happened in a gym. And he tied the shoes, but he tied them from this way. So Columbo was able to figure out that the victim did not tie his own shoes because the loop, would have been on the opposite side of where it was. If you tied this way facing you and you're a righty, you tend to grab this side. But if you flip it and you're a righty, you grab this side first. So Columbo showed that no way that guy that was dead, no way that he was an accident or whatever, or that he tied his own shoes. It had to be somebody else who tied his shoes. And then he showed that the guy who was telling the story to was the guilty guy, as usual. So anyway, I used to tie my shoes for a long time. I would tie my shoes. This is the right side as I'm facing it downward, and I would, tie it across. I gotta think of the old way. Yeah. So anyway, I would tie the right on top, and then I would loop it like that, and then I would make a loop here, and that would, that would tie it, right? But then like 5, maybe more, 7 years ago, 7, 8 years back, maybe even a decade ago, I realized that it's better if the left side goes over the right. So you have the left side, meaning it start off here, right? So this is the left side. And so it would be on top of the right would go under, and then you would make the initial, crossover, and then you would tie it. And I found when you tie it this way, they never untie. Now, maybe statistically, if you do that, 1,000 times, it may untie once. But in my experience, ever since I switched it over, I've never had loose shoelaces, never. So once again, the old way was the right over left, and then you would crisscross and then you would pull it down, then you would make a loop on the right if you're a righty, and then you would go over and do one of those. But I discovered that if the left side goes over the right, meaning that this one is on top, right, and then you cross it, loop, crossover, and then underneath. I found that it never unties. At least for me, it's never untied. I could play Relivio, I could play tag, I could sprint somewhere to buy milk, and they don't untie. So I think it causes more pressure, and it doesn't allow it to untie. So you may want to try it if you're having issues. There are a lot of other ways to tie your shoes. You can do a double knot, which I find a hassle when you want to untie. But then there's something called the Paris knot. That's one. I don't do anything complicated like that. Nothing complicated. I just have switched the initial cross, and I go left over right instead of right over left. That's it. So it's from the coffee, delicious early morning coffee, you know. Smells very nice. Getting busy down there. I hear the crowd. But today's a nice day. It's not hot. It's just right. And I want to say this. I don't know if the Disney people, they don't know this, or they haven't done the research that I've done. But every day here in Disneyland, 6 people break a shoelace. 6 people. And not one store sells shoelaces. You can look anywhere. I mean, I've been to every store, and not one of them has shoelaces. So you got to bring your own. You got to bring a spare, because you may be one of the 6 one day. But every day, you know, you'd think that they would have a little bit like downstairs where they have that little, that little store that sells, shaving cream and things like that. You'd think that they would have a little section there that has shoelaces. You know, one for sneakers and one for boots. You know, you may have to have, they should have maybe unlimited length, like not unlimited, but maybe they should have like 72 inches, and without the finished ends, that now where you can cut it with a knife or something and adjust it to whatever you need. I wish they had a suggestion box. I would write that. I would say, every day 6 people on average break a shoelace in Disneyland. And yet you don't have anywhere to go for a remedy. You gotta smell this if you're ever in a store that sells Savannah Beak, the cream. Very, very nice fragrance. Now this is the small version. I got the big one also. That's at home. When I travel, I bring this. I never really use it. I bring it. It's just knowing that it's there. I don't have to worry about the rough hands. Right? So, I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to get some coffee. I'm going to get some breakfast, and then I'm going to do some skagoomering around here. That's it for now. Ciao.